Jambo's garden.
I'm Jambo, and this is my garden. All right, guys, so today on this episode of Jambo's Garden, we are gonna do some mulching. We've got our fairy garden here, and it needs some love. It's had a rough time of it. It still seems to be a little bit dry, so we are gonna do some mulching and see if we can't bring this all back to life and, you know, bring the fairies home. Oh no. So yeah, we're just pulling some weeds, preparing to mulch here. That way the weeds can't grow right through your mulch, because they'll just do that. They'll get stronger and they'll grow right on through it, and then your mulching kind of pointless. Cut. Rambling. So today we have some handy tools. You're gonna want to be prepared to use these. You know, be careful. You don't want to get hurt. First and foremost is always our trowel. You never know when you might need it real quick. Secondly, we've got a wheelbarrow today, our garden rake, and our shovel. For any garden, it's oak. There's different types of mulches you can use. You just want to remember that some things are okay to put down and other things aren't. Walnuts and cedar are not great though. But oak is okay. Cut. All right, so one of the nice things about living in an area where you can grow perennials is that you can grow some of your own mulch. You know, buying mulch in bags and stuff, it gets expensive. You'll save some money. And one of the greatest things you plant to do that is comfrey, which is a nice perennial plant. It's got pretty purple flowers, and the bees really like it. You know, it's a good pollinator plant. They're great for what's called the chop and drop method. And for this activity, we're gonna need a special handy tool, a nice sharp knife. You can use your trowel, but it's a little bit more harmful to the plant. But we're just gonna take our knife, we're just gonna chop it and drop it. Chop. Drop. We ended up putting some grass clippings on top of our comfrey leaves here. That's one of my other favorite free mulch, because you gotta cut your grass, and you know, you might as well do something with the clippings instead of just bagging them up and sending them away for someone else to worry about. So yeah, we just piled that right on, and now we're gonna add either some twigs or some mulch. So yeah, we're just gonna mulch nice right down around our plants, not on top of them and not touching them ideally. Hold too much moisture next to them. Yeah, just kind of lay it down nice and thick, a couple inches. Ideally 3 or 4 if you can. That'll really keep your weeds down. There are lots of different mulches you can use. Like I mentioned, we're using the comfrey leaves, the grass cuttings, and this oak mulch. But there's an endless supply of it. You can use leaves. Straw is another really good one. Don't use hay because it's got a lot of seeds. Stones and twigs that you snap up can count as mulch. That all helps hold moisture and keep the weeds down. There's also what we call living mulch. As you can see over here, we are still working on filling the garden, so we're letting some areas of it be mulched by a living mulch, this wild mint right in here. We've also got some creeping thyme embedded into this garden, as well as some creeping phlox, and those are gonna eventually fill that niche of the wild mint and kind of give that nice ground cover living mulch effect. And then you can just spread this all out with your garden rake so it's nice and even. All right, so we've got a nice little mulch fairy garden here now. A couple other things on mulching. You're gonna want to remember that this is something that's nice to do in spring, especially if you live in a really dry area and your gardens are pretty dry as far as the soil. If you are in a little wetter area, like a muck soil or something, you're gonna want to wait until a little later in the season, depending on the year. But that way your plants don't get really wet and rot out or anything. But yeah, just, know where you live, basically. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and water this in just so all our plants are nice and happy, and this new mulch will start retaining moisture right away. Just, if you're ever wondering if you should or shouldn't mulch something, I always say, you should remember that Okay, ready?
Action.
So when it comes to mulch, remember, the topsoil's like, the privates.
Yeah, sorry.
That topsoil is like the privates of the garden, and you should probably keep it covered up with something to retain moisture. So thanks for coming out to learn about mulching today, guys. I'm Jambo, and this is my garden.
Jambo's garden.